day, dude, I feel like everybody's right and everybody's wrong.
100%. Why is this important? Why are we even going here? He's helped a lot of guys. He's also not had success with a lot of guys.
Come in with a purpose, and they're very intentional with what they do and how they do it.
From the majors to the sandlot, baseball and softball share space in one place. Welcome to the farm system.
Today we got a special guest actually coming on. Me and Micah have actually gotten to interact over the years, and actually this is the first time we've been able to talk kind of face to face and really interact in this way. So I'm actually kind of just excited just to have some of the conversations and really like again, Mike, I'm gonna let you kind of introduce yourself and kind of some of your background here as well. But I know really in the private space, and again, I'm sure previously as well before getting into pro ball, I'm sure you had some work in there as well. But really, I've jumped back into the space, the last couple of years and getting as well. So I'd love to interact just the last couple of years and see how you're training guys. And again, you obviously use a ton of our products and things like that as well. So we love we constantly have been interacting. So in any case, I'll let you kind of introduce yourself and a little bit of your background, and we'll get into the weeds, huh?
Yeah, no, I love that. So, I was lucky enough to be in Major League Baseball, professional baseball. I actually did a little 1 year of indie baseball. So yeah, for 31 years, so when you're in it for that long, man, you go through so many different changes in life and understanding. So I got to play for 15 years. Played and got up to the major league, got to Japan a couple of years, got to Korea a couple of years, a lot of years in the minor leagues. And back in those days, man, we didn't have hitting coaches, all the way up till AAA. So you had to kind of figure it out on your own. And you really, you had a hitting coordinator came into town twice a year, maybe if you're lucky. But, they just gave more wisdom than anything else. So you figured stuff out on your own by talking to your teammates, by talking to other players, and by having like history down. I was lucky enough to meet Willie McGee at a young age of 19 years old. And through Willie McGee learned a lot from Dusty Baker. Dusty Baker learned a lot from Hank Aaron. And then all those friends and teammates that those guys had, they passed so much wisdom down to each other, and they kept passing it down to the point where I'm at now, where in the last couple of years, so in the last year alone, I started doing amateur players. Before that, I didn't really do amateur players. I only did professional players. And I had a couple that were in high school that we worked with when I was with the D-backs. And I continued working with them in the pros. So that's really the only amateur guys I really knew, by the time they were in high school. So I didn't know the 8, 9, 10-year-olds and things like that. So now here we are now, and through my journey, man, I've learned so much, especially after Major League Scout, I turned into a hitting coach. And when I was a hitting coach, I thought I knew everything coming from the scout. I had a 30,000 view. I had all the analytics, all the understanding. Man, I'm going to be amazing. Then I went in there and I went in the trenches, and I realized that, man, they got a hit tonight. And there's way more than this is what they should do. I knew the ball needs to get in the air. I knew the ball needs. But yeah, they just can't. You just can't do that, And I had to change a lot, and I didn't know the body. I understood why we did these things. Why first round we go to right field, second round we go to center field. We just did that because I understood that helped us. Then learning the body and learning everything, and I did on base use, so I learned that. I really got embarrassed one day. I had to go up there and explain why this one trainer wasn't going to be a good hitter after he went on the K-vest. And man, he had his body couldn't move. He had every deficiency in the world. And I'm like, I have no idea how to help this guy. First of all, I didn't see him swing. So I'm more of we're in the cage and my mind starts working, so I didn't just know the body. So I really had to learn the body a little bit more. I'm not that great at it. I'm a kindergarten level, first grade. I always say you're a PhD at it. I might be a kindergarten, second, third grade, but I have a good idea when I go in there. And when I'm talking to someone who really knows the body better than me, I can really put in the drills and really implement them. And then I discovered when I went and I watched the Field vs. Real with you and Eugene, when you guys did that, now that really made sense to me. Man, that hit on me right away. And I was like, wow, I got it. Now I understand why I'm doing these drills and putting players in these positions. So it just explained everything at another level. So when I do it, I can explain better to the player. So not just put that player in those positions and have him hit. And then when he leaves me, that player didn't understand and know why he did it. He just did that with me. So when he goes to the other coach isn't doing that. So he doesn't really know. He loses it. And then he has to call me. And then we start talking. Well, remember that drill? And it just, it was ridiculous. So now it helped me understand. And I'm a big, huge fan of you. Huge fan of guys. And I always make fun on about a lot of guys on Twitter and social media and all this who want to power this. You want to do that. You want to do that. And they never played, never walked in the box. But I'm a huge fan of people that understand that it's not just that freaking easy to do it.
Sure.
And that's why I enjoy, you and I enjoy other guys, because I learned so much, and the other way around that I got guys, man, my boy Casey over there with the Cardinals is amazing. And he's a master at bodies and understands it. And is a really good hitting coach. And, when he's young, and his biggest thing over there is learning the trenches and learning the players and the wisdom. He's never gotten the wisdom passed down. So you combine those two things, and you realize that, man, it takes a village. It takes a village. You need all of that. And it's been really, really cool venture, little whole circle that I've been on at my age. And I just love it, man.
Yeah, no, it's been great too. I think, one of the things like you kind of mentioned too, right, is, there's a reason why, like you said, even I talk about it all the time about, getting wide, hitting the ground balls to the right side. And like, and then building it up, right? Then line drives through his chest, then line drives into the gap. And then all of a sudden, okay, now I open my field up a little bit and I go gap to gap. This is this old school wisdom that's been through, decades, right? And so usually I think sometimes where people get confused is I used to talk about it like, yeah, you can go into try to find a needle in a haystack, right? You're looking through all this data and you're trying to find something that, oh man, this is what the great hitters do. But really, if you look at like the basis of science, what it was like, I'm sitting underneath a tree, an apple hits me in the head. I make an observation. Well, why did that fall? Why does it have to come down, right? And then boom, like it ends up leading to the discovery of gravity. So instead of looking for a needle in a haystack, you make an observation, you go study why it works, because I already know it works. I'm not using the science necessarily to do that. And again, don't get me wrong, finding a needle in a haystack is also awesome. I've done it where I've looked through force play data or whatever. And, I'm like, oh man, I found some interesting stuff that I would have never knew if I didn't use technology. But at the same time, as you mentioned, there's things that have survived over, decades, and, there's a reason why a lot of these hitting coaches, utilize some of these, this information and do it this way or train this way. And so a big part of when I went into the science side, and I think in the beginning, right, I get it, right? I'm the younger guy using technology. On some of the old school guys just assumed I was like some new like launch angle coach that that was just telling all these guys to hit thing. I'm like, no. I want to help you understand, like, the science is proving you right. But I'm just going at it from a different perspective too as well. And I know that we really gotten to connect from that way. So I'm like a big advocate for the old school guys. But again, on the same side of that, like, let me tell you why you're right, but also let me help you understand that there's also more. There's always more for us to learn. There's always more things that I'm constantly adding to, to my tool belt constantly every single day. But at the same time, like, you were right about a ton of things. And you might, as you know, and I've learned this over and over again, why I think something was working might be a totally another reason why it was working. And then if I can better understand why it was working, well, then I can better prescribe it to what hitter needs it, rather than, if I was off about why this medicine works. Like, you're right, the medicine works, but who does it work for? And that becomes big. And I've seen you, in that way, just been huge too. I mean, I'll let you kind of talk on that side. I know, even right now, like, you got a couple big league guys that are banging, doing their thing.
Yeah,
and I think, just from that side as well as, I remember, it's so funny. I had no idea that you were working with Belly at the time, but years ago, I saw him on the on deck circle and he started doing his step backs and his, and he's like holding his angles. And I'm like, I was like, he's working with some, like, that was not what he was doing. Right. Yeah. Like, he started getting, he, at one point was like very rotational, like really, like pull heavy, all those other things. And like, he made some, in my opinion, I think you really increased the longevity of his career because, again, just like guys like Josh Donaldson, they created a ton of speed, but as they age and they get older and they had injuries and all those other things, that way of hitting and how they used to hit when they were super young, like those guys kind of fall off of a cliff when they don't know how to hit, another way. And then they start getting exposed by off-speed pitches because they're trying to be faster and the swing's long and all those things. And so I saw, as you started working with him and some of those things, I was like, no, like this man's working and getting some different feels in. And then, like I said, at the time, I hadn't even met you yet. I had no idea that like you were even working with him. And then I was just like, it makes sense. Like I knew that he was doing some different things because I saw his feels really change. But yeah, why don't you kind of talk about, some of that too? I know, again, I want to give credit where it's credit's due. You got some guys that are really swinging it right now.
Yeah, no, Belly's the best one. So Cody, we always call Belly. Yeah. So I use it when I'm on this side. It's so funny.
Yeah.
So I've known Cody, since high school. And it's always Cody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No one's,
Yeah, I hear you.
We'll go Cody, and we go Belly. Yeah, okay, Belly. So we'll go Belly, and I'll say it because everyone knows him that way in the world. No one knows him as Cody. But no. So in high school, this was more who Cody was. So when I was with the D-backs, Mike Fetters and myself, we ran a D-back scout team. When I was on a scout, I was on the amateur and pro side. Then I was doing some pro stuff and I was doing some amateur stuff, and they had me run the scout team for 2 months. 1 month and a month and a half in the summer. And then, so we had up 22 guys who played in pro balls, like 7 guys made it to the major leagues off that team. And Cody in high school was more of the hitter he is now, but way more closed off and hit the ball really to center field, to left center field. He didn't pull the ball at all. And, he was a wiry, hypermobile kid, at the time. I had no idea what that meant. All I knew is this kid if he was right-handed, he'd be playing shortstop. I remember writing the report on him on the draft. I said he's a future number 3 hitter who would be playing shortstop if he was right-handed. That's how athletic he is. And I had a body comp of Paul O'Neill. It's so funny. I thought he would grow. He grew, but he's bigger than people think. But he ain't. Paul O'Neill is a little thicker than that. With Sean Green now. But no doubt. So when he went to LA, we worked for a little bit, but for the most part, LA have some good guys. They do a great job, but they turned him from going so much to left center. And I remember one off season, we worked on pulling the ball a little bit. That was after he hit 300. And he pulled it, and then he got up to the big league. So he really worked with the Dodgers guys and stayed in LA. And they turned him into a turn and burn. And it turned into, for a few years, really good. But when you do something for too long and when you extremely do it too long one way, guess what happens? It turns into an issue. And he turned into a rotational man. When he did hit the ball good, it usually went past the first base coach into the right field stance. And then when he put it in play, it was poor. It was ground balls a second or into the shift. And then he still, would hit his few that he was perfect timing, because when you're in poor position, if you have perfect timing, you're still going to hit. And that's what I tell people, man. You can be in a horrible position. If you got amazing timing, you're going to hit. I mean, it's just the facts, but it's going to be really hard when you're off. You ain't going to have any B and C swings, So
for sure.
Cody got let go. He got DFA'd. We were at Jamie Westbrook's wedding. And it was so funny because I think we had 3 guys get DFA'd that night. It was like him, Patrick Murphy, and who was Newman, I think, or someone was there. I think Newman got DFA'd that night. Oh, Bobby Borchert got DFA'd that night. It was like butcher night. It was like hilarious. So we were having fun. So we got back in. He's like, Micah, man, I got to get back in. So me, him, and his dad, we went up to the cage one day, and for the first rounds, all we did is keep that pelvis, keep that front side, keep that foot striding out stride out to me. He didn't get to hit the ball for a little bit. Then we started flipping and hitting the ball, and all he could do is stride, step, wait, get in launch, back to the middle. And I mean, we went through the foundational, fundamental, and then worked our way up. So I would say we worked old school, bottom up, ground up, but it's new school, top down. So his feet had to stay in the ground. We took his feet and his knee out of it. So he had to use core trunk. He had to use all those things in the bat path. in a direction, and he already had good space. He understood spacing. But he would dump right when he wanted to make his move. He would dump, and once he dumped, he got in trouble. So we worked on that a lot. So I mean, the first 2 months, we didn't do any driving out of that backside, new school driving. He was still in the ground. Don't get me wrong. He just wasn't focusing on it. So he didn't know how much he was in the ground, but he was.
For sure.
He couldn't push out of the ground, because if anyone watched Bellinger, you will see Belly is the slowest, latest starter in maybe the history of the freaking game. It is amazing what he can do, but he couldn't do it trying to do that move that he was doing when he got in trouble with LA. He got older, he got hurt. There's no chance he was going to be able to make that move and hit the ball. So that is the key. We really understood that. And then just from understanding and watching you and Eugene, other guys so much, understanding that is going to be his issue. Let's get him in his front side more. So when we got the farm board, I mean, we were on it, and as people look, he's not a big, people think, oh, that's for scissor, and oh my God, you should. I'll get into that with James Wood, and when I had him and the hitting coordinator just went after me one day, and it didn't. I got Dijon Watson gave me permission to do it, and with all those players, we did it with Washington. He didn't care, and they all went up to the big leagues. But so we use that board, and they don't understand how much that, if it's done right, how it helps that front side and helps the hips and helps the body explain why it's going. So we jump on drills so much, especially rotational people. They go on. I put them on that farm board all the time. And they may never do that move. They don't understand what it's going to help them in the game get into the correct position. So that is huge. So Cody bought in, and he was all in, and he went to Chicago, and we were talking every day, and believe me, he wasn't like, oh, this is an amazing feeling. He knows this is going to help. It's going to help. And what it is old school. We stay inside the ball. We get jammed first. We hit the ball from the label to the barrel, not barrel to the end of the bat. And that means if you got jammed and you hit a soft line drive, we already know I did the research, and we'll go down that 7-22 and why that's so important. When you hit that ball between 75 and 90 miles an hour, it's a 715 batting average in the major leagues. Stop trying. Exactly. So it's much easier to just stay through the ball and keep our body in that proper position and not worry about hitting the ball 95 miles an hour. If we're just focusing on bat path, getting some space, getting the ball through the middle, not worrying about power yet, he's going to be pretty good. And that's what he did.
And not to cut you off, one of the things that I wanted to mention with
cut me off. I'll talk forever, man.
But no, it's just like, I tell some of our guys all the time, like, hey, you guys are so worried about exit velocity. But remember, in high school, there's a kid hitting a ball at, 86 miles an hour with perfect angle, perfect spin, and he's hitting a homer at 86. Yeah. And then you're over here hitting the balls at 114, but snap hooking balls to left field, or again, getting double, skipping balls to the infield, where it's like the average home run in the big leagues is 104 miles an hour. So it's like, once, again, there's diminishing returns, right? Like at the end of the day, it's not about just hitting the ball hard, right? It's my ability to be adjustable, my ability to hit, consistently hit the ball square with good spin, with good angle. All of those things end up with good result, rather than, obviously, again, as we both would, I know on testament on the other side of this, selling out just straight bat speed, selling out just straight exit velocity. Now, again, doesn't mean that those things aren't important. Doesn't mean I want the guy swinging the bat at 40 miles an hour. Right. But at the same time, right, again, my ability to actually get the force into the ball, obviously is, everybody would say we all want to hit the ball hard, right? Yeah. Okay. But if I'm selling out, and I always tell guys this, if I wanted you to hit 10 balls, as perfectly as you could, right? And I said, okay, hey, we're doing a contest, you against another guy, 10 balls as perfectly as you could. How hard would you be swinging? Would you be swinging as hard as you could? No, if you were trying to hit it perfectly square, you wouldn't be swinging as hard as you can. But then meanwhile, we get in the box and there's one ball coming at us, right? And, I even have to tell myself this, because the same thing, when I played, again, I was second in California when I played in JUCO. I was second in California in Ks, but half my hits were extra base hits, because I was a little guy that was trying to hit bombs. and I didn't know how to hit, for average, and how I corrected also too, even myself, where when I was making changes too, is started hitting line drives low the opposite way. And like, again, worked on it every single day in BP, and like some of those things that again, some old school stuff that everybody would agree with at the time. But again, this was the time when, things were starting to get pushed, hitting, pull side bombs. And then what kid doesn't want to hit bombs, especially in high school when you don't have that much power? You can only hit a bomb to left field anyways. So you're trying to pull everything and trying to hit everything high in the air. And again, that's the thing is, as coaching is, like I said, is like you mentioned, all of a sudden you pull up the data, like you mentioned, for the old school guys and go, hey, line drives play. Yeah. At the highest level, like this, again, like you go, I even ask people sometimes, like, hey, between these two angles, generally 7 to 22, right? What do you think the major league batting average is? And everybody's like, oh, like 280. Oh, like, 320. And I'm like, no, try like over 700. Like, how about, and also too, like, again, you don't even have to hit it that hard. Like, if you can hit it at these angles, like, and again, and we're all, yes, it's a launch angle, right? Like everybody's still, it's a launch angle. Like, again, like I tell the old school guys, like, hey, don't be anti-launch angle, because it actually proves why you're right. If you hit it between these angles,
that's right.
It plays.
That is right. That's right.
So like it's a big deal. So, and again, not to pull you off, Cody, in that way. And I know that, again, along with that, like I said, I knew he had changed mentalities, because again, like his feels, were very different than, what he was doing in the box, where before he was trying to get this like really big stretch. And I saw him like always like landing, trying to get this really big stretch. Right. And then all of a sudden it was like getting his foot down, his front leg engaging into the ground. And then, he started doing like, holding his angles, or like 3/4 swings with like a step back. And I'm like, okay, like he's changed. Like something has clicked in his head, where again, I actually, it's so funny that you actually mentioned the same thing too, was at the time, Donaldson was like at his peak, and Belly was like, that's when he was hitting all his homers, right? Like it was like they were shifting. They were like, Belly was starting to be the man, and Donaldson was starting to fall off, and he had his injuries, all the stuff. And I was actually interviewing with the D-backs at the time. I remember the GM. I think it was Porter, the one from the Red Sox. I can't remember who I was. Maybe I can't remember who it was at the time when I was doing the interviews, but yeah, he was like, we're talking about certain hitters. He's like, okay, well, it's easy kind of to talk about Donaldson because he's, not playing well right now. Who do you think is like the man right now that you think is really going to fall off a cliff if they don't, change things? And I was like, Bellinger, right? And everybody was like, he's the man at the moment. Everybody's like, no way. Like, there's this guy's, and there's no way, right? And then it's like, boom, he started, declining, right? And then, like I said, he made some big changes. Another guy that would have been like that too. Another guy would have been like that would have been Mookie Betts. Like that would have been, if he didn't make those big swing changes that he did, like Mookie Betts would have been, also a guy that, really would have struggled, without that too. So I know that was also a big thing, is like Mookie made some really big, changes in his swing that I think really built some longevity in his game too, as well.
Yeah, no doubt. No, Cody, I mean, you talked about it. You hit on it right there, mentality. That was the biggest thing. And that's when the wisdom comes down from years of people. So things I could tell Cody were coming all the way from Hank Aaron's teammates to Dusty's teammates to Willie's teammates, and all the way down because of the stories that you hear and you understand. So you can bring that, and then you can bring in people to convince, to even bring on your side even stronger, whether it's older players or whether it's metrics to prove it. And the metrics are the biggest thing to prove anything. And when you start saying, hey, do you want a 1500 OPS? They say yes. You want an 800 slug? They say yes. Well, there you go. You don't even have to hit the ball hard to do that. 75 to 90 gives you that. So hold on now before you think you have to crush, and kids walk in. You said it. Kids walk in there and let's be honest, man. Home runs are sexy, right? So they walk in there. Yeah, I want to get more power. I want to do this. I said, okay, I'll give you more. What do you want? OPS higher? You want to slug higher? Okay. Then don't hit the ball so hard and pull it to the shortstop like you're doing. And how about we hit some softer line drives in right center, left center gap? And they're like, no, okay. But you said you wanted more You wanted more power. When you put all the
Yeah.
power together, there's your OPS and slug. That's your power, right? What are we talking
Yeah.
about? It's your ISO. It's right here. And they don't understand that. So we have to explain that. So Cody was mentality. And then don't think it was so easy that it's just okay, do that now. Oh no. When you're in the big leagues, man, and you're going home every night and people are writing in the paper exit velocities down and this and that. It's hard to not listen to that.
For
Even the
sure.
front office, let's be honest, the front offices are the worst enemies of a lot of these players because
Yeah.
it's guys who are sitting on their computer and they look at a 30,000 view and they look at their whole season or their last 2 seasons or the last 3 seasons or the last what. And we're talking about tonight's game. I really
Yeah.
don't care about the last season he had numbers or what he did in April because we're not in April right now. We're tonight and we're facing this guy. All right, he's a good matchup for this guy because he throws this and that. And I'm like, wait up, Cody. Hey, hold on. You can't do this today. You're not in that
Yeah.
mode right now. You're in mode where we need that half a hit a week to get you from 200, 220, whatever he was with the Dodgers, 200 back up to 300. How are we going to do that? It's a hit. It's a half a hit a week. It's 1 home run more a month. That's it. So if we look at it that way and use that mentality, bam, there you go. So that means we stay through more balls and we're going to get that extra hit.
No, and you said it like perfectly well, like in that same way, like you said as well, as a lot of that is mentality wise of, because again, like you said, the one you didn't mention, I was going to say another sometimes you got to deal with a lot of the pro players sometimes is the agent, right? Sometimes you got the
I'm
agent
not
involved
going there.
and the agent's looking at the dollar signs and he's going, hey, you got to pull that ball in the air more. That's when you hit all your home runs. This is when you do all your X, Y, and Z. And like, that's where it becomes big, where I'm like, hey, listen, I know what you're going for. I know what you guys, what you're aiming for. But also too, if he starts again, I was trending a couple years ago. It was like that even with when I was trending Bregman. It was like the same thing. It's like, hey, you're not hitting the ball, pull side homer. And it's like, yo, when he tries to do that, he strikes out like crazy, has no adjustability, and he can't pull it in the air because he's trying to pull it in the air. And then now he's cheating to his front side, again, in a bad way, where he's opening early, jumping out of his back leg. And then now his arc is starting. And then now again, even when he, like you said, when he does hit him hard and he does hit him high, he actually starts going foul balls. And now he's hitting all these foul balls for homers. And now he can't shoot balls to right field at all. And then you take that part away from his game. And it's like, again, it's not just, yes, I understand that when you look at the data and you just look at it in a cocoon and you haven't played and you just look at it from the standpoint of, oh, look, when he was good, he was hitting these pull side homers. Yes, I get it. But what mentality created a pull side homer? Not just, oh, you know what? Like you said, field versus real, right? Just because I was hitting the ball pull side in the air doesn't mean I should be trying to hit it pull side in the air. I could be thinking like Freddie Freeman, one hopper to the opposite field infielder, and then hit a 450-foot bomb to my left side because I'm staying in. Again, it's helping me get behind the ball. It's, again, that approach of also, too, where I'm adjustable, like you mentioned, right? Where, again, he might throw – I don't know where the ball – and even if I do know what he's throwing, I might be off by, a couple inches. It might break a little bit more horizontal. It might break a little bit more vertical. And I got to be able to stay on that ball and be able to hit that ball. Not, like you said, not every swing is going to be my A swing. And if you take away, as you said it, your B swing, your C swing, because I'm selling out, for a batting practice home run to the left side, if it's in a perfect spot, if I'm perfectly on time and all those things, it's like, again, that's not hitting. And again, you're playing an arcade game and you don't understand that, this guy is throwing freaking 96 miles an hour and it's the ball, it's gone. You know what I'm saying? You're hitting a BB flying through the air. That's, you can't be over there doing, you know what I forgot to do? I should have been trying to hit home runs, and this whole time I've been trying. I just like, I was telling myself I should just hit grounders and get out. But now that you reminded me that I need to hit pull side homers, I guess I'll just start doing that instead.
Yeah,
My bad.
And that's the problem with the game today, right now. because you
Yeah.
can't really quantify it, right? You can't with numbers and algorithms, you can't put that down on paper that is a real issue. You know, they
Yeah.
say, hey, and they use lineups because this is a great matchup. Well, it doesn't matter because when Cody, myself, anyone is going bad, a high school pitcher is going to get them out. And when we're going good, we're going to hit anybody. And that's
Yep.
it, you know? So
Yeah.
that's what they don't get. That's what they don't know. And then they'll tell you the 30,000 view. They'll say, hey, he likes to throw this pitch in this situation, this pitch. Well, that's great, but he doesn't throw me that pitch. He ain't going to throw me that pitch in that situation. So the people that know,
especially Cody or some of the, I know you have some good lefties too. It's like, yo, I'm a really good lefty. They're not going to treat me that way. Even if it's another lefty, they know what I'm capable of doing, of changing the game or doing X, Y, and Z. You know, there's a big difference for different types of matchups of, you know, who they're facing and what they're going to do with me. Or he knows that I crush that. So of course he's not going to throw that to me. That might be his best pitch, but it's also what I crush. So it's like, you know, and those things, as you mentioned, right? It's like, there's much more layers with that. And I think even the old school, this is where I really think having coaches that have played at those levels and have the mentality of like, you know, and don't get me wrong, I think even some of that is slipping a little bit because, you know, again, someone in the office is calling pitches in big situations in the sense of, oh, hey, you know, if he just throws straight 6 curveballs in a row right here, you know, the stats say that we should be, you know, good and this guy should get out. And it's like, okay, but again, you throw a really good hitter 6 curveballs in a row, like, you know, he's going to make an adjustment. It's just, you can't just go linear. Like, you know, again, these are what the percentage are in these counts if we throw this pitch, because again, you have to have that mix of, yes, again, believe me, I've always known and you've known that, look, I go play an adult ball and I'm going to tell you this with the adult ball. Okay. They throw 60% breaking balls and it's effective because the ball is definitely moving. I agree that that was a big shift in the game, that we were throwing too many fastballs, right? But at the same time, you can't obviously, like I said, there is, because I saw a guy do that the other day where he's facing a dude and he throws like, you know, 5 curveballs in a row or a whole inning and he throws like 5 sliders in a row, right? Just over and over and over and over again. And, but again, really good hitters, like, you know, try to do that against, you know, Miggy in his prime, or try to do that against, you know, even Judge, you know, like try to do that over and over again. Like the good hitters are going to make adjustments and they're not going to let you just keep getting them out in the same exact way over and over again. You have to put that fastball in their head, or again, the ball out of the zone that sets it up or sets up a tunnel or does other things because, you know, again, like they're too good. Like hitters are too good. Pitchers are also, you know, obviously, you know, really good. And that's something that, again, is that mix of, yes, here's some data, but also too, here's some wisdom. And the guys that need the data the most are guys like you, right? Or guys that have been playing the game, because they can use that information with the wisdom and create some, you know, really useful piece. And that's where really what I've tried to do is when I go in the organizations or I go and help here or there, is I just try to translate. I'm like, hey, this is what Mike is saying, right? Like you said, you're like, I'm trying to quantify why it doesn't work. And I'm going to the biomechanics and saying, hey, look, when he thinks pull side home run, I want you to look at his data. You're going to see that he's now jumping to his front side. His vertical force is really jumping. You know, like I could show him from their thing. It's like, this all changes because of what's going on in the head. And then also too, hey, I want him to hit for that too. You're talking to the agent, right? Or you're talking to the front office, right? Like I want him to hit for those things too. But also, here's the data. Like, again, this is what changes. You can see it in the kinematics. You can see it in all these other things. It does change when he tries to do X, Y, and Z or, you know, whatever. And, you know, again, and that's where a lot of times, like when I go in, it's like trying to translate that and help some of that old school, you know, wisdom as well. It's like, hey, you're right. And also too, you know, Micah, hey, this is what the front office guy is saying. I might not agree with that. This might be the mentality, but he is right. Like we have lost a little bit of this, and it might be because maybe now he's really fighting too hard to stay inside the ball, and now he's not, you know, he's not getting the barrel out, or the energy's not getting into the barrel. And then, you know, there's all those conversations too as well, where it's like, you know, everyone's right to a degree, right? But it's like, what is the other person missing, and can we talk the same language? If you're talking Chinese and I'm talking English and we're just talking past each other, it, you know, that doesn't go anywhere, right? And then everybody just wants to do their thing and they just think they're right, rather than, you know, actually having a conversation that's productive.
No, that's exactly right. So, and that's what's going on in the front offices right now.
Yeah.
You're having the guys calling the shots who are not understanding what you just said. They won't have
Yeah.
guys like you in there because they won't pay you enough. They're paying
Yeah.
guys, young guys in there, and they're not paying them much money. And that's just what's going on. They're not getting
Yeah.
paid what they're worth. And they're
Yeah.
sending down stuff because they got their job on their algorithm, and everyone can understand numbers who's working on the front offices and GMs and owners, and they get numbers.
Yeah.
And they can't go off their algorithm. First of all, they won't go off it because they're not secure enough in themselves and say, hey, I always say I'm always right unless I'm wrong. Because I ain't gonna
Yeah.
stay wrong long. I'm gonna get back on
Yeah.
the right side then. Hey, well, I thought this, but hey, this is showing me that hey, I'm wrong right there. So okay, let's figure
Yeah.
that out. And
Yeah.
again, I'm extreme dyslexic, so it really helps me in coaching because I see things in 3 dimensions. I can see it. Usually look at some backwards. And if you look at
Yeah.
someone hitting, the reason they messed up wasn't because of what you're saying. It already happened.
It already
You
happened.
know? Yeah. And that
Yeah.
really helps me look at something backwards and see that lowest hanging fruit. And that's what everyone wants to do. That, well, it might be the root. It might be in the
Yeah.
ground of why that's actually happening. If we fix that root, we can fix that lowest hanging fruit without going to it. But you know what? They can't do that because they don't see that. They only
Yeah.
see what their manual tells them, and they can't
Well,
go off their manual.
and you mentioned this. I think this is the disconnect, right? It's like the thing of like, okay, you have knowledge, but book knowledge. That's why people say, oh, like that guy's book smart, or they could read a graph, or they could do all these things, right? But it's like the wisdom is how I turn that into a story, into action, into whatever, right? You could regurgitate some information and go, well, it should be in this thing next. Okay, yeah, but like I hear you, but like, how do we get there, right? Which is the wisdom and the storylines that actually create good data, right? Or create ideal data, like you're mentioning. And also too, just wanted to highlight this too as well. It's like, like, for example, like even, again, another testament, which I'm happy on this side of this, everybody from their own angles is with the push. Is like, even with, like Wood right now, like, again, another, yeah, he's doing really good. But again, also another guy, as you mentioned, right, is a guy that was at one point was like really turning and, doing some of those things and has really made some really good adjustments at the highest level, right? Which is really tough from that way. And I kind of want to give you a minute to talk about him. Cause again, and of course, like, again, guys that came up were, he's like in it right now. Like this is his, he's really, really doing it right now. So I also wanted to give you, a moment with him too, as well, because I mean, like, again, respect is, due there as well. I mean, he's made some really good adjustments at, again, at this level for sure over the last couple of years.
No, James is awesome. So it was really cool because in 22, I was in the fall league and I was working with Jackson Merrill. And Jackson Merrill and James Woods are buddies. They grew up same area together everywhere. So Jackson let Woody know that because he got traded over to Washington with me. And he let Woody know that, hey, man, make sure you're working with Micah. Well, so from the day one in spring, man, me and Woody got together and we were in there. And Dejon Watson's player development there, he's head of it. So he gave me the okay to do whatever I need to do. Because like you said, man, that it would dump. He would try to, all of a sudden, he's trying to pull the ball because they're bringing information down that he needs to pull the ball in the air more. All right,
Yeah.
So no. Hey, we're getting on this farm board. We're getting that front side strong. We're staying in, And I remember one day, man, Joe Dillon grabbed me. Woody wanted to work on something on the machine. He wanted more on the machine and the drill we were doing. And he was mad because, he didn't have that set up. Well, he didn't have anything set up that day, so I picked what we were doing. And man, he grabbed me, threw me. He's like, what the F you doing? And I'm like, hey, this is what Woody wants because he likes that feel because we've been working on it, and he loves it. Well, I got the okay and we kept working on it. So we talked to the front office and I had to really let them know because they sent a big thing down like that. I mean, huge thing. Why he needs to hit the ball in the air, pull it in the air. And that will just hurt James. That is not going to help him at this time. He's 6'6". He's 21 years old, whatever, he's too young. Let him be a hitter. He hits the ball the other way too good. He'll take the ball on the inside half, stay through it. That front side's amazing, and just go ahead and stick that swing and drive it out of the park. Why are we trying to change that? As we know, as time, wisdom tells us, as time goes, he's still young. As time goes, he will eventually take that ball to center. Then the ball will go to right center. Then the ball will go right. And eventually he's going to get so old in the game, 32, 34, 35. Now he's just going to only pull balls and not even hit balls the other way for home. That's just the way it works.
Yeah.
And your information explains why it works for him, but that's what happens. When he doesn't, his body really doesn't work correctly yet. And it's getting there, and it's a process, and they wanted to rush the process. They want to be line cutters, as we like to call them. You can't be line cutters. And James understood that. Me and James got to work, and man, we would do all kind of drills for that. And that's what people don't understand. You got to do the drills for it too. And you got to pitch the drills in the right spot. We would have that. We would flip. We would be on the farm. We'd start our day that way. So we work our day with our path, our direction, get on the farm board. Now we're working front side. Then we go to the next progression. Then we go to the next. Then we have fastball, curveballs. Slow curveballs are awesome with the farm board because that front side's got to stick. I call it, then the recoil comes in, that pelvis comes. Everything just works that way. So even you'll learn to keep the back knee back. You'll learn to keep the hands back. People say stay back. They don't really even understand what stay back means, Guy will stay back, and now he's spinning on his back leg because he's trying to stay back. They don't realize that. So with James, man, he got it, and we're like, hey, we would get together every day. We'd go on off days, on Mondays, in the minor leagues, Mondays off. We'd go in there in the off days. Him, Trey Lipscomb, Jacob Young would, and they would all be in there. And they are all, within that year, they're up in the big leagues in a year or so, whatever. But we would really work on it. Now, like you said, now they go to AA, now they go to AAA, now they go to big leagues. Well, guess what? Those guys don't have the knowledge of that or they do have the knowledge, but because they have their jobs, they do not go against that kid in the front office who does not have the knowledge and understanding. And he just has his insecure algorithm that he has to sell. So now they're saying he needs to do this. So he's hearing those voices. So guess what? All these guys always are calling their guy they trust the most. And that's what people don't understand. I'm talking to Cody every night. When James is in trouble, guess what? He's on the phone. He's calling. We're talking. We're going over. Jacob Young, same thing. We're going over. We're talking. Whether it's Chapman on the year last year he really had. We talk sometimes and go. And Chapman's got other guys that he really uses and he likes it. So he has a village. He doesn't have just one person. But with Cody, those guys, we're talking. And when you can really, they trust you and they know that you're telling them the truth. You're not giving them. And organizations are great at giving you what you're doing wrong, but very few give you how to fix it, And hey, these are the things. When you go like this, you need to do this drill. You need to do this mindset. So the drill has to have a mindset with it, and it has to have pitches that understand. So you're like, hey, I got to work away. Well, you better throw that guy in and then throw a ball away and see if he does. You throw 10 balls away, guess what? You're going to do perfect because you know the ball's away.
Yeah, for
when
sure.
You don't know where that ball's coming, that's when now I know you were focused on away and you're hitting it when that ball comes. Every time that ball's away, you get it or whatever. You're not pulling off. So you got to make hitters actually pull off. You got to make them look bad in the cage. You have to. If you don't, you're in trouble because they don't know how to get in that B and C position and still be successful. And then when you're talking about major league hitters, if you can't hit in the B and C position, you got no chance. And that's the difference between non-big league hitters and minor leaguers.
And like you said, right, I think about this from a martial arts perspective, right? It's like, man, some of these guys, when I'd be sparring with them and doing all the things, and I got into Muay Thai pretty heavy for a minute, is they could hit me from some crazy angles. They'd be in some crazy BC position, and they could still hit you with a hook, or they could still hit you with a jab, and you're like, oh, like you got some pop from that position, even though you're not in a perfect, all the things like, and they train, and a lot of that too, again, like, and again, from the body perspective, like how their fascial system's tuned, how they've trained their CNS, how they've done all these other things. They're very fast in small windows of time. And jiu-jitsu, they call it match strength, right? That like when the guy, he's a little, scrawny guy. Let's say you grab Bellinger, like you said, is a tall guy, but the reason he's wiry and all those things is, from his fascial system standpoint, it's like, again, like if a guy like that is, you're doing like jujitsu or something, the guy grabs you and you go, hold on. Like, I feel like his whole body is grabbing me, not just his arm. Like, he knows how to connect everything. Again, that's how they can, be shortstops, all those other, those mentalities. But also, like you mentioned, right? Like, you hit it right on the head too, where it's not, the drill is great for the hardware, right? But the mentality, or again, intention of the drill, and also how I roll the drill out, that is like the software update, right? So I got to have the software and the hardware, and they're two different things. And we're actually doing that retreat here in the next couple of weeks. I was actually just making our handbook for it, and I was actually going through that stuff as well. It's like, we got to know what we're attacking. Are we going after hardware and like the body, can't physically do this right now, but we're going to work on it? And then there's also a software update, right? Where it's like, hey, it's the same hardware. I tell the guys all the time, I go out there, I was like, man, I got a $60,000 to $75,000 force plate that's out in the facility, right? It's expensive as hell, but I have to calibrate it every time I use it, or the data is incorrect, right? The hardware is still the exact same, but I got to calibrate that damn thing every time. And if I make an adjustment and my body starts changing, and you know what, game 140 instead of game 2 of spring training, our body's in a very different place. I'm traveling all the time. Again, if I'm a younger guy that don't got money, I don't have my own personal chef, I don't have my own PT, I don't have my own, all these things that kind of keep me rejuvenated and going throughout. Like, Alex Bregman's got a very different life than a kid that's just trying to make the, 40-man roster and just trying to do it. He can't have, his PTs and his family traveling with them, and all these things that go into the psyche, what's going on to be a major league, a player. It's not like, I was telling someone that the other day, it's like, look, we would wake up in the morning. I travel with Bregs for about 2 weeks. We wake up in the morning, he'd wake up like, 9:30, 10 o'clock, we're, 10:30, we're in the cage. We're in there hitting for an hour or so. He leaves, takes a shower, heads straight to the ballpark. He's there at 1 o'clock. He gets done with the game. He's got to do interviews, all the other stuff, right? Because he's the man, right? So they're going to have to interview. All the things are going to happen, especially if he, did what he was supposed to do that night. The interviews are a good thing, So then he's doing the interviews. We get done with the interviews. He gets home. It's 11 o'clock at night. His PT still got to work on him for 45 minutes. We're talking, hitting the things. And then boom, he's going to bed. We wake up, we got to do it again. And then next city. It's just like, if you can't handle that, I mean, that's a crazy schedule. And if you don't know what the guy is actually going through by having to, mentally not getting to see your family for, that long. I mean, he's got a little boy, and again, now he's got another kid too. So it's just like, again, it's like, man, I don't get to see my family at all. And at least he has the ability where he could fly him around and do all this stuff. But if I'm making league minimum and I'm just trying to survive, I'm trying to go out with my teammates who really got money, and all, don't get me wrong. Yes, sometimes they're going to pay for your food and all the stuff, but people think that those guys sometimes that are really there. I mean, that's a whole different thing, because like, again, as hitting too, if I'm just not in the right headspace and I'm not at peace and I'm not all those other things and I'm trying to force things to happen and I think I'm going to get sent down to AAA tomorrow and blah, 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 all that stuff, or this is my last chance in the league, it's, they start pressing and it gets in their head. And sometimes I feel like I'm more of I was telling them, I feel like I'm a swing therapist more than anything sometimes, because a lot of times to get to come out, we need mind, soul, and and body, like we need all those things together for someone to be elite in that way. And that's a lot of part of the game that a lot of people don't see is again, having the struggle through some of that stuff. And sometimes those conversations with the hitter, is swings major, again, if there's anybody an advocate for the swing, definitely me. But at the same time, don't think that's the only thing, right? If I want him to move well, his soul's got to be in a good place. His mind's got to be in a good place. But I want him to move well. Yeah, you know what? He might be moving terrible because him and his wife are having some problems right now, and the X, Y, and Z and whatever. But also too, like that's what I'm I'm not there just to go, hey, you're not getting in your back hip. There's a lot that goes into that, and so again, like I said, I think that's a big piece that a lot of people don't see. And that's another thing where if you're in the front office and you're just running analytics from your office and you're, with your kids every night and all the things, you're not seeing that, and what that, athletes actually having to go through to be a 0.3% athlete in the world and the sport you play. It's a crazy mentality to be, most people that are going to work with somebody like you talked about, like Wood or again, like Cody or, Briggs or something like that. The odds are that most hitting coaches, 99% of hitting coaches are probably going to make them worse because they're already so good. It's a lot easier to make them worse than it is to make them better. It's very easy. There's low-hanging fruit for a kid that's like 10 years old, 12 years old. There's so many things they can get better at, right? But when you get up to that elite level and it's 99, they're better than 99.7% of everybody on the planet. Trying to get that guy better, that's why front offices tell, hey, this is a first-round draft pick. Nobody touch this guy. Nobody say nothing to him. We let Cruz do whatever Cruz wants to do. You know what I'm saying? We let this guy do whatever he wants until he struggles, until he really needs it. Because again, the odds are that you're most likely not going to help him. You're probably gonna do the opposite because again, that it's so hard to even get to that level of, with it, right? And then also too, those guys that are playing at that level and are that elite in the elite league, right? Those guys are generally going to be better for them than almost any hitting coach on the planet because they're all, that's why they're already, And so that's just one thing, like I said, just to give praise where it's due and those credit where it's due to as well as, like I said, I don't want to run past that because I know how hard it is. I've seen guys in the cage where people would be like, this is the most unbelievable player I've ever seen. I'm like, yeah, he's struggling right now. You think he's the most unbelievable player you've ever seen? And this guy is like, again, I've had Haniger in my cage and go, some guys watch him hit and go, oh my goodness. I've had the Matt Davidsons in my cage, right? And you go, dude, this guy, he looks like I've had the Jake Gatewoods in the cage with a guy setting every record of every EV, of every bat speed record that he goes to drive line and sets every record across the board, beats Ohtani and everything. And he's still struggling where he's going to have hundreds and hundreds of Ks because there's more to it. And that's when all of a sudden you see the coaching separations, right? Where it's not just some general information is going like, hey, when we're talking about the 0.3% in the world, man, you better know some things because this ain't a 15-year-old kid that just needs some low-hanging fruit. Like you said, some of the things that you give them most likely are not going to make them better. And, again, so credits due where credits due there where like you've done some really good work with, some players at the highest level. And that's, again, if there's anybody that can respect how hard that is to do, again, I've worked with, quite a few pro organizations, and it definitely doesn't always play out that way. If anything, maybe you get them to the same level. And then, but, again, to get those guys actually better, it definitely is a lot of work and those things as well. And, credit due there for sure.
No, you nailed it. It's understanding so much to be a hitting coach. You said it about a book earlier. I said a good hitting coach is a book. Okay. The old school guys are awesome because they have great endings. It's really, really hard to have a good ending. Well, great endings work. We need great endings, but they may not have the beginning part of the book because they were so good or whatever, or they were old school and they're skipping certain things. So they're going to miss the player that's not that good, but he can play in the big leagues, but he's just not as good as that dude who's the stud that we don't even have to touch. So you're going to lose some guys that are right on the cuff, that you could really help. Then you have the new guys who have cool little catchy things. They can put little cool, commercials together to make you want to buy that book, Then you got guys who can write chapters. Yeah, they're pretty good too. But the real good ones, and I talk about Harry Potter because I love those Harry Potter movies and the books. Excuse me, I was a book guy way before the movie. So the books, man, I always say Diagon Alley or whatever it is, and in all those places in Hogwarts and everything, you have great chapters, you have great paragraph, you have great words, but then you see inside the word. So the reader actually can start dreaming about where he's at when he's reading. What's going on in Ron's mind? What's going on in Harry's mind, Hermione's mind? And you're thinking with them. You see how they look. You can actually make a picture of how they look. And that's what you got to do for your hitter. You have to not just give the manual, but you have to have that hitter be able to go inside his own brain and put everything in that inner computer, and it goes in the files, and be able to pull it out when they need it.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys are getting told what's right, but they can't pull it out when they're in trouble. So their slumps are a little longer, or they don't get that extra little hit. Like you said, it's hard, man. That major league life or pro life, it is hard. There's so much mentally going on in the body, and guys don't know it. It's not. That's why I thought KVS and 4D is full of crap when it came out. You know, it was a hard argument. Now I had to sit there and for 3-4 hours and do it and study it and learn it, and we go over hitters. And the problem with it, if it's done not perfectly correct, we're in trouble, and we weren't doing it correctly. You know, we're judging a hitter off of a machine or a flip when they're in perfect condition. That ain't the case. My players ain't ever in that condition. You know, there's something going on with them mentally, physically. They're hitting great, so they're trying to do too much at one point. They're not hitting good, so they're insecure. So that reading we have is not correct. And we actually have to overdo something else. If he's pulling off, well, guess what? We're going to stay close even longer, than you should. We're going to extreme it because we only know we're going to get a little fraction of that in the game when he's moving at that speed. We got to see.
And you made a big point there too, right? It's like, let's say you look at like, kinematics or some of those other things, right? And it's like, okay, well, this guy's got a 1, 2, 3, 4, and he's terrible. Like his speeds are on pro speeds, all of his angles are X, Y, and Z. This guy should do it. But the problem is you're looking at ranges, and you're looking at, okay, this guy sequences in this order, great. And decels in this order, but it's the wins, it's the wears. And that's even too, where again, I had to end up talking, with the biomechanics, and I'm like, going in, it's like, hey, again, when you're looking at the general public compared to this guy, they're going to look so far apart for sure. The problem is when you get into the nitty gritty, like we talked about, the 99 percentile, right? Like these guys, right, that are elite, right? They're inside this 0.5% of like, not just in the big leagues, but like the guys that are elite in the big leagues is like, again, it's not, there's all these little intricacies that even in that way, right? You can't just be an average biomechanist, or you can just look at some graph and go, okay, well, if he does this and this, okay, now this guy's going to be an elite hitter. It's like, no. This is just some information, a part of a much bigger story of how all of this comes together. And also too, yes, he creates these speeds. He can do all these other things. But, for example, and your timing or how you're looking at the body, that to you, that 0.04, time is not a big deal, but it's a major difference when you're playing in a sport that has these fractions of how they can create speed and all these things in small windows or be adjustable. Because guess what? Again, like I always say this analogy. It's like if me and Mayweather go into an arcade and we have the punching bag machine and it comes down, it's like, okay, let's see who can punch this thing the hardest. And I crow hop, swing a thing, boom, I hit the thing. And then he hits it, right? And me and him create the same amount of speed, right? Or maybe I'm just a tick above him, right? And then you're going, okay, does that mean that when we get inside the ring that I'm going to beat him up? No, I want an arcade game. He knows how to pivot. He knows how to adjust. He knows how, by the time I get that long ass swing off and I do all those other things, he's already pivoted, hit me 4 more times. And he might be hitting me at 60% of the power of my maximum power. But guess what? My maximum power never lands, and he's hit me 50 times with 60%. And then when I'm really tired, then he starts landing on. When you can get your A swing off because you know what they're going to throw you, the pitcher's not very good, he's not changing speeds very often, or you got him tailed on. Okay, great. I'm all in on an A swing. But at the same time, how often I tell guys throughout a whole season, I ask them throughout a whole season, how many times are you perfectly on time, hit it perfectly square, exactly the perfect way that you'd like to do it? Maybe one time, if ever. Okay, so should we be building a perfect swing or a swing that allows me to not be perfect? Right? Where again, I don't have to be perfectly on time. I have depth, I have length, I have, again, I have enough speed, I have quickness at the same time, right? I have space, I have direction, right? All these concepts that come into it where it's I'm not just again selling out where it's like, oh, my bat speed, like I'm sure you've had the same thing. I can't tell you how many times. I can't tell you how many times I've had a college kid walk in. He's got an 80-something mile an hour bat speed, and then you're trying to tell me that guy, well, it's just bad. You know, he needs to get higher bat speed and pull the ball in the air. It's like, dude, I'm telling you, I've had so many of those guys, right? And also, too, for example, and again, not just because he's the perfect example of this, and I love the kid to death, but Jacob Gatewood is example of that. He's got crazy high bat speeds.
Yep.
He can pull the ball a mile. Everybody in the league that knows this dude could hit freaking, if you go batting practice, he probably won every home run derby that anybody could have. He's unbelievable. But because it doesn't fit the narrative that if I could just pull the ball in the air and have high bat speeds and all the things, and I should be an elite hitter, right? That story never gets told because, you know, we want to go grab the guys. It's survivor bias, right? We go grab the guys that, yes, can do that, but also can do a whole bunch of other things, you know, that, you know, if it's like they said, someone that said this other day, okay, the most elite sprinters in the world, let's say he does RDLs. Okay. He does in the weight room. He does his RDLs. Okay. Well, so does everybody that loses. They all do RDLs. So again, are we saying that we should all do RDLs because all these other guys do RDLs? It's like, yeah, but what does he do that's different, right? What does he do that's different? And yes, again, like you mentioned, there is some guys that are mind blowing, that are, you know, all the things that can swing that fast in a small window of time, that have great spacing, have great direction. And then guess what? There's also a 2-hole guy that hits the ball at averages, 90 miles an hour and hits a little line drive to the outfield and he gets on base. And then the big boy comes in that's 6'7", 260 pounds. And he hits the ball into the trees. That's okay too. You know, that's part of the game. You know, we need to have both. So I just think that's like, you know, again, like you said, it's like old school wisdom mixed with, yes, current things that we can measure and all those other things too as well. But it's knowledge and wisdom, you know, together. You know, again, it's not just a spreadsheet, or it's not just, just hit these numbers and you'll be an elite hitter. Like, no. It will always be the art of how you put all that information together and how you deliver it. Okay, great. Even if I know all that information, can I get a player to do it? Can I coach it? Can I connect with them? Can I get everybody on board too? And like you mentioned, like if he's in, he's starting to wander and his eyes are starting to wander because the guy next to him's got 20 more home runs right now. And he's, you got Aaron Judge on your team and, 1 in 3 balls at one season. It was like 1 in 3 balls that he hits in the air is a home run. That could get in your head. That can get in your head because you're not 6'7", 260 pounds. And again, he can get away with things that you're not going to be able to get away with. And I know this too, being a small guy my whole life, growing up, I hit a ball in the air and I get jammed. Like I slice a ball and Giancarlo Stanton slices a ball. He hits his 320 feet and mine is a single to right field. We are different players.
Yeah.
We are different players, So I just wanted to kind of point that out too, as well as like as you mentioned, it's like, okay, we got arcade numbers and then we got again, these are all just little points on the thing. I'm not, again, it's not denying that any of those things exist. It's how we use all that information, pull it all together and use it to be constructive for a hitter to actually get them results.
No, dude, that's bam. And we talk about pro ball. Every kid who's out there, they want to play. A lot of them want to play college and pro ball. All young kids, and they don't really understand like what we're talking about right now. And that's the key that I've been trying to get across, and you try to get across to them that, hey, we need to get in our strongest, efficient position, not our strongest position. So there was a good trend for a while in pro ball where the strength coaches were working with the RDL people. And now that's how we're trying to make every hitter. Well, this is the best position. No, that's the strongest position. That's not efficient. He can't hit in that position.
Or like I like to slide in there too, past efficiency too. Some things are not the most efficient, but they might be the most effective.
Okay, yeah.
And so and so hey, you know what? My KVS chart might be off and I'm a 1, 3, 2, 4 or whatever, but hey, that's how I can get to this ball and I can hit it for a line drive to left field. And again, that's very effective, for me too, as well. As you mentioned, right? It's like, this might not be my strongest, fastest, X, Y, and Z, but it allows me to be adjustable, allows me to hit other pitches. It allows me, these things. And like I said, if I wanted to throw my strongest punch, I would be in a different position. But the problem is that guy's not just standing there letting me try to punch him in the face. He's moving, he's dodging all these things. So instead, I have to throw this little tight punch instead of throwing these other punches, even though it's not my strongest, right? It's not the fastest punch that I could ever throw, right? But it is the most effective, which is where I see you talk a ton about, right? Which is like, hey, like this, you know what? Your exit velocities might come down a little bit, but what if your slugging goes up 300 points?
Yes.
Great. Does it matter if I'm throwing 70% of my absolute speed, but I'm landing it more often in a fight, which is really what you're talking about over a season? It's a fight.
Yes.
If I can land it more often, well, guess what? I hit for higher slug, as you mentioned, more higher slugging. I get higher averages. All these other things come in as well, rather than just going, okay, I'm going to get my A swing off. And yeah, I'm going to miss a lot more. And then every time I hit a pull side home run, you're going to go, well, yeah, just do that more. It's like, yes, you think I'm trying to get out? I'm not trying to get out. You know,
that's exactly
like, it's like when guys are like, you know, again, like the whole thing, like hit the ball. Thanks, Dad. Like,
right.
What do you, I know, I'm trying, you know,
No
like
doubt,
if that's not working, man. You know,
I tell dads that all the time. I was like, yeah, you see that one swing? So I'll give them like 5-6 swings to new kids that come, we eval them. And then I put them up on the board, the big board, and they're watching the TV. See that great swing? Yeah, if he can just do that more, right? And the dad's like, yeah. I was like, you see that other swing that he rolled over the short? He did the same thing. Guess what? One had perfect time and one did. The swing ain't no different, just so you know. So the one time he hits the double in the gap and you're like, just do that more. Guess what? He's trying to do this, you know?
And then you're right, because then it gets amplified too. And then on social media, which one gets posted?
Exactly.
The one that's smashed, right? And then everybody goes, oh, this is what the swing should look like, because look, this ball is smashed. And it's like, or again, it's like posting a home run derby post, or if you only post home runs. Great.
Yes.
He did that on that pitch. You know how many times I post and I know, I'm sure you do the same thing. I post a ball down and away, you know, and a ball, and the guy's like, well, that will never work on a ball up and in. Okay. And then I post a ball that's up and in. He's like, that ball will never work on a ball that's down and away. It's like, well, that's not what he's hitting. That's not what he's hitting. He's hitting that pitch.
Dude, I started putting ages on some of these kids now. So if it's like an 8, 9,
9.
10, they'll like try to say something. I'm like, dude, he's 10. Just say great job or don't say anything. You know, he's 10 years old. Are you kidding 100%.
Me? Or again, because they have this vision in their head that the swing needs to be perfectly flat. Or it's like, okay, show me a perfectly flat swing on a ball at the bottom of the zone. I want to see a perfectly flat swing with a ball that's just, you know, or at or below your knees. I want you to show me a perfectly flat swing. It's just, you know, so again, like I always bring that up too. It's just like, hey, like again, all of this as well is like, hey, if we're working on a guy that throws across his body and comes from behind your back and it's an inside pitch with some arm side run, you think that exact swing that I'm taking on that ball is going to be the same as the ball that's down and away from a lefty with arm side run and a changeup that I have to stay on and I'm probably a little early on? Like those are, don't get me wrong. Yes, there is, you know, holistically, you know, there's general moves like a general punch that will work from, you know, more things, but there's, you know, as we're talking about, when you get to the elite level players, they have to deal with problems where, you know, Cody's going to have to deal with certain lefties that create some really tough angles for him. And so if I just go, hey, I'm going to take my A swing every time, it's like, no, bro, if you hit a single through the 4-hole right here, we'll take it. This is a really bad matchup for you. And that's okay. Your angles and his angles, they're tough angles, but our job is, again, your job on this guy is, you know, you might be a single guy and then the other guy behind you comes up and hits you guys in or does whatever because he's got better matchup. And that's just matchups. It's just angles and what he throws and what shapes he has compared to what shapes you create with your barrel and all those things too as well. So I think that's also like I said too as well, is like some of that time on social media, it's like you're looking at a single swing and either one, you're holding it, showing every swing needs to be like this, or you're going the opposite way and you're like, well, that swing's not going to work on this. It's like, yeah, but it's not the same swing on every pitch.
Yeah.
I'm a fighter. I don't throw the same punches.
Dude, you nailed it. If you ever watch, so I probably only do a side view when I'm working with hitters, even we're doing swing changes, everything, maybe 5%. maybe 5% side view. I don't want to see his swing. If someone sends me a swing and asks me to break it down and I don't see the pitch, I tell them I don't do side views because I need to know what that hitter's thinking and moving as that ball's coming.
Yeah.
Because that's going to tell me so much. He may be not in the A position. Oh, that was great. You did a great. If you could continue, or look, as soon as that ball's pitched right there, look what you already predetermined what you were going to do, where you were going to go. And that helps me. I can see that. Other people look at a side view. In back view, they got no idea what the hell they're looking at. And that's the problem.
Sure.
We have too many side view guys right now. And the side view is great. Don't get me wrong, for certain things. For certain things. If that's what you are working on, that's great. But if that's the only thing, you're missing everything because you're missing how you go about it. Every pitch is, I call it an inner computer. And the more you do successful, the more you fail, the more every drill from the cognitive refine to the time, everything you do go into those files. And in a split second, in milliseconds, those files need to come out.
Yeah.
And did that hitter get himself in the best position to be a chance to be successful? You said, hey, you're from Vegas. It's the odds. And I use Vegas all the time. Those big casinos were built for a reason. They have the odds in their favor. So if we have a swing path, if we get in this position, we do what we need to do. Our odds, if I hit the ball between 7 and 22, my odds are 661 no matter what speed I hit it.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm going to play the odd games. Guess what? You're going to get out sometimes because it's not 1,000. So don't worry when you get out. But if you continue to do that, you'll have success. So play those odds. Don't go against those odds. And that's a mental game that, you have to really stay with that hitter. And it's tough because, like you said, it ain't sexy.
No,
it's not sexy. They wanted the sexy stuff.
I mean, the check's sexy later on, though.
Yes, it does.
That check would be good. Yeah, but no, like you said, I think that's the big piece. And also, too, I just wanted to give you a chance because I know that you've gotten the chance to use them quite a bit. I know a lot of people haven't got to feel them, all that stuff, but I know that you've really gotten to use our performance bands, quite a bit. And I've really like, again, when we first started using them, all the stuff we're doing, I'm like, people need to you get some big adjustments and changes and things with it, right? When you actually pull on the thing. So I was going to let you kind of talk about when and where you like to use it and how you like to use it and et cetera from that side, because I know you use them quite a bit.
This is they're game changers once I started using them because I would try to get the player to understand that move, to get him to understand his trunk, to get him to understand his hip, to get him to understand the turn properly, to get him to understand different feels. And I use them a lot. Right after a first round of my drill, whether we do split grip, we take their feet away, tight turn drill, whatever we do, then I put them on them and I say, now try to swing as hard as you can. And they put those bands and I put it around the back arm, get their trunk, and they have to pull them. All of a sudden, they stay down. They're using their big core. They're not using their little foot to try to spin and split that bug and knee. Or if they're big pull-up, man, they're flying out. And they're like, wow. Yeah. So within that 10 pitches, all of a sudden, I did probably a half an hour worth of work I would have had to do because I would have had to sell them, not just tell them and try to get them into that position. I would have to sell. And that's what people don't understand. You have to sell. You have to get that hitter to buy in. I don't care what you do. If you don't get that hitter to believe in you, you ain't got a chance. Period.
Oh, for sure.
So
because there's going to be
allow it.
No. And like, I love that piece because like, that's the other thing, like you mentioned, right? It's like, if I can get you to feel it and experience it, now it's like the test drive, right? You get in the car, I can tell you about how the car is. I can tell you how it smells, how it drives, all the things, but I'm selling. Then the number one thing they want you, hey, why don't you come down here and sit in the car? Come sit in the car, come drive this thing. You know what I'm saying? And once you have contrast and you can feel the difference from one to another, you go, oh, okay, I was doing this. I was turning, but I was yanking and spinning. And now I have to, okay, this is what rotating from my middle feels like. This is what instead of me spinning on my back leg, or if I do any of those things, right? Like a normal swing under normal circumstances doesn't have enough feedback, right? Where if we can increase that feedback, right? Or pull them into their mistakes, or pull them out of posture, or pull them into a lunge, or pull them into a stack on their backside, or, there's infinite amount of things you can do with it, right?
Yeah.
It becomes big. And so a lot of times for hitters, the biggest thing I do is when they can't feel that they're doing something, I try to make it more like, hey, this is what you're doing. And then once they feel the extreme, then I take it back off. And then they're like, okay, now let's feel what we actually want to do. Hook it the opposite way, wrap it around the opposite way of their body.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, hey, rotate away from the band. Like you said, rotate away from the band, and then boom, boom. And they're like, oh, I could feel it. Right. And like you said, and then the other thing that I love, because again, Eugene and them, they have the vest, and then Lance Wheeler had the belt and all the things. I love all of them, right? The only problem I had was when hitters are hopping in and out of the cage, the setups, right? And don't be wrong, once you have it set up, you could just clip it to other ones. But when you have a lot of hitters jumping in and out of the cage, we could put the band on so quick, right? Put it on your shoulder, spin around, boom. Yeah. You're done. Set up. So, and then also too, if you're doing blending, right? You might go 2 swings, no band, 2 swings with the band, 2 swings, no band, 2 swings with the band, right? And it's so easy. And then you can wrap it around your leg, and it could be a belt, instead of, if I need this guy, if I want to like pull his front side open, or if I want to get him, to load into his hip a little bit more, I can wrap him either, like, hey, turn away from the band. I can give them an actual, for the brain understands forces way more. Hey, Micah, I think you really like this one too. Another one I've been doing lately, hitters that really get on the balls of their feet and they're like jumping for it all the time. What I do is I've been putting the band around their waist. I sit in front of them in the batter's box, in the left-handed batter's box if they're a righty, and I pull them onto their balls of their feet, right? And then so I pull them forward. So now if they're balancing forward, or they're getting jumpy or any of that, right? They can feel it. So instead they start trying to drive away from me just to hold themselves up. And then I tell them, hey, as you swing, I want you to like pull me over home plate. And then when they do that, I take the band off, and their turns, they all of a sudden have all the space. They can turn so well, right? Because again, the nerd stuff is it actually activates different muscle chains. So instead of them really, getting balanced and a lot of the jumping, pulling with the back, that's why you're saying it's like, when you were talking about updating basically the software and the hardware, you're giving them, the reason it takes these reps and these drills is I have to update the brain and, hey, this is how I want to rotate. There's a different way of doing it. And also I have to update the hardware. Maybe the body can't move like that yet. It has restrictions fascially. The hips are doing X, Y, and Z. And so certain things, like even with how you do a lot of your split grip stuff, that also, some of those are hard, not only software changes, but some of that is hardware changes where their rib cage can't move like that yet. And then so over time, that gets cleaner, right? As you work on some of those drills, and again, you adjust how their body actually functions. And we're doing that just like you would in a weight room. The body doesn't care if it's a baseball bat, a med ball, you can do whatever, right? Any of those tools, we think, oh, only in the weight room we're going to work on the body. No, when you're rotating, it's just like when you're a kid and you don't know riding a bike is an exercise. Like, boy, we used to be on the bike for hours. Like, you don't think you're burning calories? You think your body's like, oh, I'm on a bike, so I'm just not going to burn any calories. No, you get on the bike and you leave for 10 hours. You done burnt so many calories. You ride your bike everywhere, So it's the same thing. You get into the cage, even now I know it. I'm trying to get some cardio in. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go take some swings because that's an easier way for me to burn some calories, right? So the same thing when we're doing some of that stuff in the cage, we like to separate the two and go, oh, well, that's just all weight room stuff, or that's doing X, Y, and Z. It's like, no. You're teaching the body to move and perform. And whatever I do in the cage affects what I'm doing in the weight room. And whatever I do in the weight room affects how I move in the cage, because you're always working on the software and the hardware. And like I said, those, the bands have been huge for that. Again, obviously water bags, are huge too as well. I know you got Tidal ones. And then, also, I was gonna point out too, like that's why we even too with the med ball tosses can be awesome. I think you have to do specific variations. I don't think, sometimes guys are just going raw speed and just spin and throw it as hard as you can. but yeah, no, those things have been great there too as well. But no, and then also too, I just wanted to highlight this as well. If you are out in that area, there's very few hitting coaches across. People always ask me, "Hey, what hitting coaches you recommend?" I'm like, well, there's like very few across the whole nation I would recommend. So, you know, on the other side of that. But again, I just wanted to point out that too, that you're in AZ, where exactly in AZ are you?
Right in Mesa, border of Mesa and Chandler, right there. Yeah, so just redid
Nice.
the whole facility there, and you know, and my cage is right there. I sit in there. But I'm bringing, if I can, knock on wood, a great sports performance guy, RJ Geyer, who helped me
Oh yeah,
when RJ's awesome. So he helped with Cody. He came in, helped with Cody, and got Cody on board. And I had him. We were working together on doubles, so we were in double A working together. So we got in real good with each other, and then we would take players. And he understands that it takes a village. So when we go, they go into the weight room with them and do their performance stuff, movements. It's the same idea of what they would be doing when they have a bat in their hand. Because when you do those moves and then all of a sudden they go into the cage, they forget, like you just said, that it's the same thing. It's no difference. You know, now the ball's coming. All of a sudden they're doing something different. So we can blend it really, really well together. So those guys, and you know, we've always done our pro guys out of there, and now I'm doing the amateur guys now. So but yeah, we're in Arizona, man. You got to come down too. You know, I got to come to Vegas and see you. You know, it's a lot of fun, man. The guys, when I always tell guys, they don't understand that if you can sit, if you're a fly on the wall, and if you can sit when 4 or 5 of those guys are hitting, they're just sitting and they're talking.
Yeah.
They don't understand so much goes into talking and understanding. Most big league hitters know what pitch is coming, when it's coming, and how it's coming.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what they don't understand. And the hitters talk about, oh, I did this move, I did that move, I'm doing this. You know, it's not just turn and burn. The turn and burn, they might have tried and it didn't work for them. So they know, you know, that ain't gonna work. You know, I better know what I'm doing and understand what I'm doing. The ones who don't understand what they're doing, they're in trouble. They got no chance of them there.
Yeah, no, it'd be good. No, also too, I think I was just literally thinking right now, I was like, might be good. There's so many things. I was like, I think that you know, I know this is like our first like our audience is coming together, kind of maybe seeing me and you more interact on this way too. I was like, Micah, man, you got to talk more, man. You know what I'm saying? We got to do some,
no doubt.
some IG lives or something. You know what I'm saying? And show some things. But I definitely appreciate it and all the things. And I definitely need to make it out to AZ. Would love to have you up here too as well. And you know, all the things. So I'm sure we'll organize something and make something work. But no, it was. No, just loved having you. If people wanted to reach out to you or again get in contact with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
They can go on my Instagram is Micah Franklin 56 MICAH FRANKLIN 56. My webpage 7to22.com. They can get on there. And like I said, we didn't even get into Jazz. We can talk all kind of stuff with Jazz back in the day when he was younger, man. Wow. He was elite from the jump, and it's a shame that D-backs ever let that guy go, man.
Yeah. No, and yeah, there's like I said, there's so much more. Like I was like, I mean, you got into all these different weeds, but I feel like there's so many angles. Like I said, we're gonna have to do it again here soon, so we can knock it all together. But yeah, there's so many areas that we could continue to kind of go into. So maybe we'll set something up soon. We'll do it again or something, Micah.
Love it, man. It's been awesome. I can keep going forever, man.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was gonna say. Me and you can be talking hitting for
no doubt
forever. Yeah,
no doubt.
That's why I think it would be good for us. Maybe at some point, again, like I said, we go shoot some stuff, me and you in the cage, because I think that would, you know, I mean, be some fun stuff to get done. So, anyways, no, really appreciate it. Thanks for your time and sharing some of your wisdom with the audience and chatting it up with me. And yeah, we'll circle back here soon and get this podcast out so some people can listen in.
Appreciate you, Joey, man. Thanks for having me on, brother. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks, brother. Thanks, brother.
All right, now.